next book. And let's see, I've got a book coming out called Assassin in the Ale House, and that's coming out in June. We've got a Kickstarter going for it right now, which is part of my, publishing cycle. And we're doing, like, we do the special editions of the books in the Kickstarters even before the book comes out, which is really cool. And this one it's kind of really interesting because this is shaping up to be our biggest Kickstarter yet, because we've already done over $50,000, and we beat our most recent best cozy fantasy book on like the second day, and it was like, holy cannoli, this Kickstarter might be a little bit crazy. So I think we've got like 15 days left, and I'm like, holy cannoli, I don't even know what we're gonna do with this. So it's gonna be really exciting to go through and fulfill that, because we do all the fulfillment from the house, right? So we get of course we'll order the books and we'll order the other things from the printers and the manufacturers, but they all come here and we put them all together, and all my children are involved, and we create little conveyor belts for ourselves, and we get the whole thing going in the house. We have a room called the Room of Fulfillment, and that's actually where I do a lot of the business work. This room here, where you could see like the beautiful library and everything, this is where I actually do the writing, and because it's hard to compartmentalize that like artistic side and the business side. And so being able to do the writing in here and then the business side in the Room of Fulfillment has definitely helped really compartmentalize that in my mind.
Wow, cool. That's great. I think that would be helpful for new people that might be listening now, and as an upstart, it's like, it's not inconceivable, especially with computers, where you can put everything together. It's not like you have to have a typesetter and somebody's doing all that, the physical part of it. So
yeah, and you can do all that yourself nowadays. There's such amazing tools and programs for you to, set up the interior of your book. And but again, you're going to give up time, or you're going to give up money to do to make things happen, right? And so you have to quickly learn and decipher, okay, what am I skilled at? What are the skills that I can utilize? And can I spend the time to learn certain skills to get done?
Or can I learn quickly enough, right? What can I learn quickly enough to
my time?
Right.
Yeah.
So
and
that's
as
great.
an author, like your most important piece, like the most important thing that you can do is write books, right? So
there you go. Yeah.
That's part that you need to focus on. So slowly over the last, really over the last 6 months, we've started kind of adding people to the team to help with different things, so that I can even get even more consistent on the writing side to continue to put out more books. So yeah,
wow,
it's been an interesting journey.
Yeah, I'll bet. How many, or what are the ages of your children? What are the ages of your children?
So we didn't used to have a Room of Fulfillment. One of my children is old enough that he moved out and he went to university. He's off going to learning to be an engineer. So didn't always have a Room of Fulfillment. You gotta earn that, right? You gotta get to the Room of Fulfillment. But one of them's old enough, and then the rest are all teenagers. We got a 16 and almost 15, and she's 14 now. So
okay.
God save the queen,
so
buddy.
I'm just thinking they're old enough to help then, right?
Oh yeah, definitely old enough to help. Yeah. One of them got off of school early yesterday, and I was like, "Hey, buddy, come on in." I took him to go get a burrito, and then I was like, "All right, come on in, dude. I need some help over here. Come and wax seal all these notes for me, or come and let's pack some books and sign these books."
Wow, cool. That's excellent. It kind of turns the gets the whole family like grounded in, you know, what it takes to keep the whole family going too. Then, so
Oh yeah, that's one of the best
like
parts.
an economics lesson, and so to speak.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, these guys are learning. Like my one son is interested in cooking and being a chef and potentially opening his own restaurant. I'm like, okay, well, let's look at all this stuff that we got going on just for this book business. What do you think that's going to take when you got customers coming in every single night and you got to make sure that you got all these different things happening all the time? And so it's really good lessons
and on time too. You know, it's not like you can deliver the food and go, oh, that's a little cold or something like that.
Right, yeah.
Tess writes in and says she wants to know how old you are. Now, he's married with 4 kids, so why do you want to know how old he is? Because she's a compliment. She said you don't look old enough to have 4 teenagers. I know he doesn't. He looks like 35 or something. I mean, how were you like really young when you started at this?
I sure was. Yeah, I'm 38 now, but we had our first son when we were 19, and we had all our children by the time we were 24. So,
wow,
we definitely were quick on the draw and ready to go. Yeah, I don't know how I had the foresight of it when we were that age, but I was like, every time we have another one of these things, it's like that 18-year clock resets. We should probably just fuck them all out. And we sure did. Man. So there you go.
and
so now I'm grateful for that foresight.
Oh yeah. And how long or like what were the years when you were in the military then?
Yeah, so those were my early years, that our early family years. We had all of our children while I was still active duty, except for one. I got out just before she was born.
Oh, wow.
And then
having active duty saves you a lot of money.
I sure did.
That saves you a lot of money, man.
It sure did, man. I tell you what.
Military's got pretty good doctors. I mean, it depends what branch you're in, but they all got pretty decent doctors. No, John, I was in the Navy.
That's it.
We were fed good and had good doctors. They believe. I was on carrier duty, man. We ate steak all the time. I don't know what you talk. I wasn't one of them raggedy old. No, dude. No. They actually fed us good. They wanted us. They wanted. You'd be surprised how many fat people they want on an aircraft carrier. I mean, y'all think I'm kidding you? I'm being serious. Big old bellies going down, running down the deck. I'm like, he looks like a freaking penguin out there. I was 18 at the time, so what can I say? But it was definitely.
I was medical experience. So yeah, it's.
Oh
right.
Yeah, you definitely.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, unfortunately for you guys, you got to see the good and the bad really up close and personal.
It's true. Yeah.
Well, when you're in the medical, Jack, odds are you're going to see somebody dismembered or in pieces, or the worst one I ever seen wasn't even in a battle. It was a guy got his foot caught on the lever for the ejection seat for the jet, smashed him to the top of the canopy. So you heard it take off. You heard it pop. It was four rockets about this big around, and I said, "Oh shit!" And I knew what it was when I heard it, and then I heard the canopy pop. I'm like. And I knew we were inside. All I could think was, God help, there was nobody inside. And when we looked up, it was. I'm not gonna say on air, but it was just horrible. It was just like everything. It was squished and just running over the sides. It was. I don't know what to tell you, people. It'll stay in my head till I kick the bucket, just like when I seen that guy burn to death in that rig. That's just Unfortunately, some things you see. But hey, but at least you can write about him, get him out of your head and stuff, or get him on the paper or something.
Hey. And that actually has been my most popular book. So I wrote this book called Guard in the Garden, and it's a veteran's healing journey told in a cozy fantasy setting. And it really, I kind of discovered this cozy fantasy genre. And if you guys don't know what it is, you kind of think of like, epic fantasy. You got this world-ending stakes where, oh my gosh, the world's going to end. We all got to band together and save the world together, right? If we don't, the world's going to end. whereas cozy fantasy is actually very much more personal stakes. So a veteran's healing journey, him trying to figure out who he is now that he's not a warrior anymore, going from warrior one day to civilian the next day. And it was like one of the hardest transitions I ever had to make. And I know I'm not the only one. So many other veterans out there were the same, you know, going, we're like, okay, wait, how do we act like other regular human beings? And okay, how do we work with other regular human beings? Guys, we got a mission. Let's get this thing done. Oh, wait, you guys aren't on mission here with me. Okay, hang on. Let me refocus. Let me figure this out, right? And it took me about 10 years to kind of figure out who I was and how to operate as a human again. And that's what that story is about, right? It's this dwarven warrior. He gets injured in a battle, can't be a warrior anymore, even that's what he's always been. And what do you do with him? He goes and lives with his eccentric twin aunts who are a little kooky. They're a little zany, but they're good aunts. They tell him, hey, go get outside, go get some vitamin D, stop being grumpy, right? That's good aunts do. And so he does, and he goes to this garden where he meets a woman named Tilly and her daughter Lily. And Tilly teaches him how to grow again. Lily teaches him how to laugh again because she's always spending time. She's always beating him at board games because she probably spends a little too much time with his aunts who are sharks at the local tavern. But that's a whole other thing. And between them and the rest of the people in the community, they might just be able to figure out how to teach him how to live again. And that book came out, and it was such a personal book for me. And honestly, I did a lot of healing personally writing that book. I cried so much writing that book. It was ridiculous. Like way more than I care to admit. But the fact of the matter is that it was so real that people were able to read about, PTSD and isolation and depression and all of these real things that we go through as veterans. And they could understand their loved ones better. I mean, I can't tell you how many messages I get all the time about people who are like, man, I read this and like, I understand my husband better. Like, hey, I read this and then I made my dad read it because like, I understand my dad better and I know how to love him better. And it's just been like the craziest, influx of new readers because it's just so real and it actually is impacting people. And I'm so grateful for that. It's crazy.
Hey, look, all that stuff, all the people be helping. It's funny because we've had, since I've been co-hosting this show and working with Jonathan, we have met a lot of people who were in Iraq who turned out to be authors. And actually two of them were working in, interrogations. One was a girl, one was a guy, but it's interesting to talk to them because everybody's going through the same thing. It's in your head. It's in there, and you've either got to bury it deep if you can live like that, or you've got to learn how to bring it out and live with it. I was SP, so Special Forces, but it was, a friend of mine asked about it one time. He said, what do you do? I said, I can't bear it. I had to get it out of my head. I said, because if I leave it in my head, it's like recycling story in my head. I said, you can't do that.
Right.
And I said, it'll drive you bat crazy after a while, or you'll end up just taking it out on somebody else.
Right. Right. Yeah, exactly.
It's
how do you get it out of the jar? Right. And
that's
a lot of the book. And it's been really interesting because, a lot of what I talk about in the book, it's so funny because it is this fantasy story, but it has so many beautiful and brilliant truths because that's what I wanted it to do. I know it was kind of me writing it to myself so that I could kind of reinforce these notions and these thoughts of, filling your cup with the right stuff so the bad stuff kind of gets pushed out, right? And filling yourself up with gratitude and finding places to have new missions and purpose. And it's been so beautiful, the amount of people that I get, reaching out to me. And of course I got to do it again with, another book called Wagons and Wyverns, where I wrote about a goblin who's got crippling anxiety. I mean, who gets to write this stuff, right? This is the coolest job ever. And it's a goblin with crippling anxiety who is like the biggest introvert you ever met. and he has to go on a wagon quest with a halfling wagoner who's the biggest extrovert you ever met. And he actually kind of learns how to be a person, even though he's been a little bit afraid of what he believes everybody perceives him as. And these are just fundamental truths of being human beings. And I've so many people relate to this stuff. And I'm like, that's the power of story that we have.
It is. It helps. You know, every one of the people I was just talking about all told me the same thing. That's how they got it out of their head. They wrote it out. So one of the guys, because he was doing class 1 interrogation, which, ladies and gentlemen, it's not even something we can really talk about on here, but just say it's not a job anybody wants. And it takes, how can I say this politely? It takes special talents. And it's not like they point their finger and scream at you. So that kind of stuff's, you know, hurting other humans for information is hard to get out of your head. Jesse, killing anybody is hard to get out of your head. What do you like? No, dude. Seeing someone get killed is hard to get. It's not, you don't even have to kill the person for it to mess with you. Seeing someone explode in front of your face is not an easy thing to deal with. Death is exactly what it is. And, you know, it's one thing watching someone die in bed in a hospice from old age, or a guy walking down the street and blown up because he stepped on an ID. It's just how it is. And see, that's a gift that Zac has, because it's a double gift, really, because it's a therapy for him and a therapy for anybody who reads it. And the fact that someone who's married to someone with this is just a help. Because, you know, a lot of guys don't want to talk about it, not to their wife. They just, you know, I don't want to get into the terms, but a lot of them just don't feel right talking about it. Some of the guys, I just don't feel manly afterwards. Really? Because you talk to somebody? That's just ignorant is what that was.
Yeah.
I call it the old guy mentality is what I call it. Yes. Well, there's a thing about manly men, and then there's a thing about just men in general. And manly men are fine as long as they're not stuck in the 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s generation. Then they're just, it's like a roadblock. Their emotions can only go so far, and after that, it's an embarrassment. I don't know, people. Don't ask me. I'm not like that. I'm 60. Yeah. I'm not like that. I have no problem telling you, you know what, you pissed me off. But that really was scary, man. I've seen some scary, hairy things. I wish I could write. We talk about it all the time because, you know, we deal with a lot of authors on here, but it's a gift. And the fact that the way you found it was interesting because, hey, let me just write. Because, you know, illustration's good. It's a lot of fun, but John will tell you, neither one of us can draw even a straight stick man. So I'm serious. He'll be like leaning over to the side or something. Like he's gonna authorize a stick man. Yeah, I'm always happy when people can do it. And it's nice when people post and put out stuff that you can just read that'll just help you get past a particular place in your life, because sometimes you just get stuck and you need that. In my case, I have a wife. She just kicks me, but
okay.
You know, for a lot of people, you know, they just need something to help them get past it. Yeah, my wife is mean. She will kick the crap out of somebody. What are you talking about?
Anyway, I had a little.
We see you got probed,
glitch there.
You had like alien things popping up on your screen. You sure you weren't being probed, Carmen?
Yeah, right.
A lot of alien stuff popping up there. I was thinking they got him, man. They got him.
Anyway, I was going to ask Zac this question. What you were talking about before my computer crashed was something you were talking about, like the reality that you had with the you called it cozy fantasy, right?
Yeah.
And it's like your best. It's I guess the one that's selling the best for you too. Still, right?
Yeah, right. It became my most popular book. Like, I mean, just so fast. I mean, it hasn't even been out a year, and it's been kind of crazy. Which it comes with good problems that you're like, oh my gosh, I was not ready for that. Okay, hang on, let's figure out how we could shore that up. It's kind of interesting because cozy comes with these expectations, right? Cozy mystery has been a thing for a very long time, you know, where you got these amateur sleuths and they're going to figure out a murder. You never actually see like murders and nobody's ever actually like in danger. They're in danger, but like, you know, at the end of the day, they're going to be fine. They're going to be safe. And this cozy fantasy genre or subgenre has really become just really blown up over the last couple of years. And the fact that I was able to write this story, because honestly, I was trying to figure out how to write this story. And I wrote my, you know, sword and sorcery epic fantasy series, Stone and Sky, and had an absolute blast writing those books, and people love those books. But I still needed to write this story, you know, this veteran's healing journey story. And I was really trying to figure out, okay, how do I package this thing? How do we tell this story? And honestly, once I found out that cozy fantasy was a thing, I realized, oh my gosh, this is the place to do it. And even though we're talking about very hard realities, we're also seeing hope and joy and the way to overcome those realities through community and other things, right?
Right. It's kind of like the smooth jazz of writing. Huh?
Yeah, exactly.
So, but it's not.
I've had a lot of people say, man, like I played because of the PTSD stuff, but no, it was okay, because then he would weave in these cozy moments, and then we could kind of go into the PTSD stuff, and then we get into these cozy moments. So we were able to really get the whole emotional you know, spectrum on this one without going to total utter oblivion, right?
Right. Yeah. That's great. I was interesting is you know, we have a lot of the winners for the Writers and Illustrators of the Future that we do interviews with here. And there was one gentleman, I remember I got a chance to talk to him at length. He was in L. Ron Hubbard Presents Writers of the Future volume, probably would have been 31, I think. And he was up in the Washington area, Washington State area. And I remember I asked him something about it because he won the grand prize. And I do publicity for all the writers and illustrators. And I remember asking him, you know, I said, so how did you come up with this story, you know? And it was something similar to what, you know, that he had that reality in that book, because they were in the story, because he goes, I was writing stories and I'm getting honorable mentions and I'm submitting them and I get honorable mention. And then he finally said, you know what? I know what they want here. I know what they want. And I'm going to write this story, and this is going to win because this is going to be right up their alley. And he wrote it, and he didn't even get an honorable mention. He didn't get anything on it. And then, whoops. And then when that happened, he went, okay, I'm just going to write something like right from the heart, you know, that has the reality to it and that characteristic or that quality to it. And then he won the grand prize on that. So I just thought it's kind of like, you're not necessarily like, as an artist, you're not marketing, but you're putting out there, you know, what's really real to you. And that makes a big difference. So,
yeah, I mean, it's one thing because as an indie author, you have to understand the power of the pitch, right? You have to understand the power of these short, easy to tell people why they need to read your books, right? There is power in that. However, I tell new authors all the time. I mean, all the time. They're like, okay, what's like the best advice you can give me? I'm like, write what you want to write, period. Plain and simple. Write that. Okay. And then figure out how to pitch it properly so that it makes sense to people who will jump on board with you. Because honestly, it's going to be no fun. There's so many hard things. There are so many hard things when you're an indie author and you have to, do the marketing and you have to do the business side and you have to do the finances and you have to do all the communiques and doing the interviews and scheduling, events, and just there's an infinite number of things that you have to do as an indie author. And there are a bunch of those that are really hard and not fun to do. So if you're not having fun with the actual writing part, why are you doing it? I'm like, you gotta do that. You gotta make it fun for yourself. Otherwise you're going to be miserable all the time.
Right. Right. Yeah. It's like you can at least go, well, I really like what I wrote and I really want to get this out to people. And you can get through all the other stuff then at that point. So yeah, that's great. That's great. So, and then,
and if you love what you wrote, then you're going to have the passion to tell everybody about it.
Right. Yeah. And push all the other things through the business, the publishing, the PR, the marketing, all that stuff. Yeah. That's great. What branch of the service were you in?
Yeah, I was Air Force Medical.
Oh, okay.
So a little bit different than the normal speed of it's kind of funny because medical is kind of its own like other enigma in the military. It's like its own other organization in all of the branches. And it really doesn't matter what branch you're in. It's kind of its own deal. Yeah.
It is. It's definitely its own deal. They're just, well, they got to kind of stay separate from it. And really, when you look at the military, they kind of break up like that anyway. It's and then you got the field meds, field techs and stuff is different. They got different jobs. They're looking at different things. They got to know different things. I was talking to a friend of mine who was actually going to be a doctor, and I said, "You didn't have to learn all this." He said, "No, I'm not going to be in the field." I'm like, "Well, you should know that." He said, "No." He said, "Because I'm not going to be in the field. I'm at the hospital. We actually got the shit to fix it right, Joe." He said, "These guys, they might be taking a piece of string off somebody's pants and fix something."
That's right.
Like, you just, and he said, even when he said, you got to understand too, even when we're all there, if there's an emergency and there's a big group come in, you only got X amount of supplies to start off with. So, you got to be, he said, you got to be creative. I'm like, I'm not coming to your hospital.
Yeah.
I'm not going anywhere. We got to be creative, man. No, you can forget that.
You're gonna come out of there with fingers on your spine, like
you'd be happy to see us. I had a couple of friends in the medic field when I was in the Airedale part. I was a avionics technician, but first I was SP because I did my SEALs, not SEALs training, special force training, and then I did ship training after that. It was weird because I was deployed, and then it's weird because you get deployed and then there's nothing to do. You go out on a mission and you do a couple missions, and then you can only do so much training before you start irritating everybody. So he said, well, your MOS was originally avionics electronics. We're going to send you to the Nimitz and send you to school. I'm like, okay. So I did a year avionics electronics, and they posted me on the Nimitz. And it was so funny because I worked my way up on the Nimitz in less than a year. I went from an E4 to a lieutenant, and I got promoted, got my own quarters, all because I was just slick. And then my commander calls me. He goes, they had a mission. He said, okay, we're sending a helicopter to get you off the Nimitz. I said, I don't know about that. and I said, you better ask the commander. He said, what are you talking about? He said, you have to listen to that. I said, I think I outrank you now, boss. I said, you're sure. I said, what are you, E70? I said, I'm a lieutenant, babe. You better watch you. He's like, what? He calls my captain. He calls my captain because he wants his guy back. And the captain's like, not a shot in hell. Because what happened was they had a problem inside the conning tower for a couple of years in one of their really advanced electronic systems for radar. And he said, I tell you what, and I just got through fixing a missile on a plane. It took me like 6 minutes. They told me the plane was going to be in the downstairs for like a month. I fixed it in like 6 minutes and launched the damn thing. And they were like, wow, well, that's impressive. So the number 2 calls me up. He said, I got an electronic problem up here. I'd like you to take a look at it. I'm like, okay. So he goes off. He's going to get a cup of coffee. He comes back. I said, it's fixed. He said, Joe, he said, let me tell you something. He said, like 50 techs have looked at this thing. He said, every tech, he said, I had techs come in from submarines and stuff and look at this thing. Nobody's been able to fix this. He said, it works. It don't work. It works. I said, I'm telling you, it works fine. Guy turns it on. It's working. I'm kicking it and shit, and it's working fine. He's like, no, it's not going to hurt it. I'm just kicking the panel. Nothing's going to hurt it. And it's working. And now it's working on. So it hadn't even glitched. Comes and sees me the next day. He says, it's still working perfectly. He goes, what was it? I said, you're going to get pissed when I tell you. He said, well, tell me anyway. He said, because people might lose their jobs. I said, well, I stuck my hand down the inside of the reflector thing, and there's 2 wires that run along there. And I noticed, I felt a neck, just like a niche. When I pushed it back and I could see it, I said, there was a niche in the wire. And I said, when you were at sea, probably at rough season, all the wire was banging against the little metal thing, and it was shorting it out.
Oh, wow.
He's like, you're bleeding. I mean, he got pissed. I mean, he got seriously pissed. Not at me, but he got pissed. He said, what did you do? I said, well, I was going to replace the wire from end to end. And then I realized that wire runs for, I don't know, like 300 yards. I said, so what I did is I redid it. And I said, and I shrink wrapped it, just shrink wrap stuff. We usually heat it up and it makes like a piece of wire. And he's like, and what are you doing on my ship? I said, I launch jets. He said, wait, I said, I work in electronics and I launch jets because I was a plane captain at the time. I was launching jets. And he's like, well, we're going to have to talk about this. And I didn't hear from him like 2 weeks. I figured it was over and done with. And then I got called to the captain's office. I figured, oh, shit. I'm being kicked off the ship. Listed people never get called to the captain's office. I'm like, oh, I'm in deep shit. I get up there and he said, my number one really likes you. He said, we're gonna give you a promotion to Lieutenant JJ. He says, you do really well in 7 months. I will give you a full promotion to full lieutenant. And I'm like, really? Yeah, that's a big pay raise too. I'm like, really? He's like, yeah. So because the reason why is you could not be where I was without being an officer. You had to be an officer to work where I was working. Even with the tech, they always had to be an officer present. I was like, wow. So I was real happy, and then I stayed there forever and pissed my commander off so bad. He came out and seen me on the ship. He said, you can request. I said, dude, why would I request? I got my own quarters. I'm an officer. What the hell's wrong with you? Nobody's shooting at me. I'm like, nobody's telling me jump off of high towers and stuff. I'm like, nah, dude, I'm really happy right where I'm at. It was hilariously funny, but all the branches are like that. And they all break up. I don't know in the Air Force, but in the Navy, everybody in the Navy is a certified firefighter. Everybody, you come right out of the Navy, go right into firefighting. If that's what you want to do for a living, that's not what I wanted to do, but something to do with the way ships work. Everybody has to know. You have to know at least 3 jobs on board the ships. And I was like, well, I know more than 3 of them. You just see, and it would have been nice to be a writer. See, like you get stuck out there sometimes. 6 months, you ain't seen an island even. You ain't even seen a seagull. You're just riding on the waves, launching. Sometimes
I can't imagine.
I can't
imagine how many words I could write. I'd be
because I had a friend of mine. He used to we'd go sit on the front of the thing and watch him launch, and he'd be out there with his book. He said, I'm writing like my 5th novel since I've been at sea. I'm like, what? He's serious.
No joke.
Of course, I couldn't read his handwriting. He's always asked me to read it. I said, dude, I can't read that. Your handwriting's worse than mine. I said, you may get a typewriter. And then we got leave, and he spent his leave in the exec office using their typewriter to type all this stuff out so he could send it out and sell it. I was like, okay. And he sold it, and he actually sold 2 of them and managed to knock off 2 years of his time. I don't know how he did that. Somehow he cut some kind of deal to get out early. I was like, and how'd you do that? Did you do that? I don't know. I got to call other guests in a minute, but it's such a nice thing. Just because anything that helps anybody. Because today's world is tense. It's
man.
Maybe tense isn't the right word. Maybe aggravated is the right word. Well, I'm not sure because being a centrist, I get to see both sides. So it's I'm listening to one side. I'm going, y'all are really stupid. And I said, maybe the other side. Oh my God, y'all are more stupid. Jesus, give me a break here, man. What's going on here? Did we move to Mars and no one tell me? And now I can't even go to Elon Muskville because he's on the Epstein list. I'm like, oh, give me a break. I was looking forward to spending some time on Mars, man. Oh man. It's funny because for people like Carmen and I, since we're oldie goldies, going to Mars.
Speak for yourself.
Going to Mars is a good thing. You're living extra. So if you go to Mars at age 50, you'll probably live to be about 160. Well, it does a couple of things. It slows down your heart rate. There's no gravity pulling any of the vital organs anymore, so all of that instantly goes to rest. Yeah. Plus, you start looking younger because nothing's gravity's not eating up your face and stuff. And if you're on high blood pressure, more than likely you'll be off of it because the release on your heart, your heart's working so much less that you get out jogging and your heart will probably not even break 60 beats a minute. It's just a different world for us. I think it's going to become. I don't think Elon realized what he's got, but I think in the long run it's going to be like where retirees go. You know how Florida is where he goes to retire. We're on Mars now, man. We're going to tackle. It'll definitely be interesting to watch. I got to say that. Let me grab our other guest, but it's
yeah, Zach. I don't know if you want to. It's up to you. I don't know what your schedule is, but maybe you might want to stay on with James and you guys can talk about your military experiences and writing and the whole how you interface that with with the things of reacclimating to civilian life. So
civilian life,
because I think
I could stay on for a few more minutes.
Okay,
that's weird going from in the military to civilian life. It took me a while to get used to just.
It is.
I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. It's I understand, but it's just weird because your brain's taught to think one way when you're in the military, and then you get home and you're like, "Well, the world is sloppy, isn't it? What the hell?"
Yeah, it is. Exactly. Right.
Well, it is.
What are you guys actually doing? I thought we had somebody told us to do this. Why are we not doing this? Like, what is happening here?
I mean, I'm telling you, it'll drive you crazy, man. I was like, no. But
I know I was never in the military myself, but I did have a cousin who was might have been like 10 years older, and he was a ranger in Vietnam.
That's a job.
Who did multiple tours and told me a few stories about it and stuff, which
that's a job I wouldn't.
Pretty wild, It's one of the funniest things. I had opportunities, years ago where I was working with different Vietnam veterans, and I would always ask them, I go, what movie most closely depicts what you experienced in Vietnam? And to my surprise, most of them said Apocalypse Now. And I would of course go, that's crazy. And they would go, yep.
Yeah. There was Apocalypse Now, and what was the other one? Because it was like two movies in one. It's
Platoon, I think it was.
No,
Platoon.
It was when the fat guy shoots his sergeant in the bathroom.
Full Metal Jacket.
Full Metal Jacket. Yeah. So when I asked guys in Vietnam, that's what they told me they thought Vietnam was like. They said they were yeah, you ever see Full Metal Jacket? That's what it's like. I had several friends that went. I was lucky; I wasn't old enough, so I didn't have to go. But I had several friends that went, and I had several friends that didn't make it back either. It was because they sent so many young people over there.
That's right. 18,
you know, squat.
I know it doesn't even make sense at that point.
Well, that's why one of the sergeants told me one thing was his thoughts. He said, "Why we like taking people from the South and from the heartland?" He said, "At least by the time you're 18, you've been hunting most of your life. You got an idea what a gun is." I was like, "Really, Sarge? Really?" Well, he was a petty officer, but still, they tell you stuff sometimes, and you think, "Boy, the military is kind of messed up there, huh?"
Yeah.
No. Okay. Let's see. He should have that. Let's double check up here. Jeffrey, you can on Rumble. Yeah, there's two Rumble channels. There's the @UFO Paranormal, and then there's just an old name I used to use, Jojo Man 1. It's not a Pokemon name, so don't even start. Jojo Man, Joe Montaldo. That's what it is. It's my two names put together. I should have never made it, but the damn thing's like 37 years old, so I can't get rid of it now. It's got emails attached to it and all sorts of stuff. I What did I know? I knew how to build computers and program, but who knew how it was going to end up working in the long run? Look, people, I started before we had Windows. Yeah, just had this thing called DOS.
Wow.
You wanted to go to a website, you had to go take a breath, take another breath, for your cigarette. Oh, all right, now I'm there. And then half time didn't work right anyway. They had video games on like Kong. It was a square looking gorilla that threw bananas at things. That was real stuff, man. And then somebody invented what was it? Windows 3.0 or something.
Right. 3.1.
I was like, what is this, man? This is pretty cool. And then from there, we got to where we are today, which some are good, some are bad. Dean, my all-time favorite operating systems. Oh man, I forgot the name of it. Yeah, it was after Millennial. It was X, whatever that one was.
Windows XP.
I loved XP. You could not crash it for nothing.
That's right.
I've blue screened every operating system but that one. I could never blue screen it. Oh no, I tried to, and I still couldn't blue screen it. It was a beast. And then they came out Millennial, which crashed every time you started it up. I was like, what the hell is this about? And now what are we on 11 now, I think?
Yeah.
They told me,
Zach, do you use Mac products or Windows?
Yeah, so I'm a Windows guy now. I just like how easy it is to move everything from my. I do so many things from my phone, and and my computer. And I love that they talk to each other, and it doesn't really matter. And I have, like I have a guy who helps me record videos, and then edits them, and we can get his stuff right to my computer super easy. And I know Apple's got its thing, but man, it really likes to work within its own, ecosystem.
Right, yeah.
And I just didn't like the limitations, man. Didn't like those limitations.
Well, when I got into radio and TV, it really limits you what you can do. So I had to switch. Besides that, when you really get down to the nuts and bolts, for every one Apple, there's like 50 Droids. So if you look at the cell phone, that's what you want to be selling to.
So you probably have a Samsung cell phone. Right?
Yeah. Nowadays, nowadays.
Oh, okay.
Definitely had an Apple one before, but that's because I had a Mac at some point, a MacBook at some point.
Well, I still have. I got two Apple pads in here somewhere. I got an Apple laptop, which my daughter's leasing. I let her take it the other day. With a 19-inch screen, the biggest laptop I've ever seen. And then, but all the main computers, like these we're on right now, these are 24 or 36 cores. They're all built I either built myself or custom built for the station. None of them are running any type of Mac or Apple products whatsoever on them because I'm running 1 gig up, 1 gig down. So speed is the essence. Mac likes to monitor their speeds for some reason because not all their phones and computers can run those kind of speeds. So I need to be able to connect to the world. And now the way it's set up, I can connect to the whole world. Then you can get an adapter for your Mac phone and listen in, or you can just pop onto a website that takes Mac, like all of like YouTube and Rumble, all of them. You can listen in Mac or they don't care.
Okay. So Joe, we should introduce our.
James is right there. He said he don't know who. Wait, let's get this thing out of James's face here. What is this about?
I know.
All right, we're liking and subscribing to you there, James. What's going on?
Hey, how are you guys doing?
I looked over and seen the bubble pop. I'm like, what the hell's going on? It's not supposed to do that. Anyway, welcome to the show. We've been talking with Zach over there. Zach, he's part vampire, I think, but I got 4 kids. I mean, look how young he looks, man. Just have 4 kids. Makes you old. I got one, and look how I look, man. Lord have mercy.
Yeah, I have 3 myself. They're 6,
wow.
10, and 12, soon to be 13. So I hear you.
There you go.
Oh man.
Yeah.
And Zach's we say fantasy writer, but you do some science fiction too, right? And then he has his book that he calls in the genre of cozy fantasy, and it's on transitioning from military life back to civilian life and handling PTSD. And I know you have books like that too, right, James?
Yeah, we actually made a couple of kids' books, ironically, where we have a mom and a dad both basically dealing with that. And so it's kind of helping the kids understand why mom or dad is acting the way they are. It's really, they're not upset at them. They're just having a hard time trying to process what's happening around them, or sounds, noises, different things like that going on. So we try to approach it that way, basically. We wrote it essentially for our kids. Excuse me. We essentially wrote it for our kids and got it from a little bit of their perspective.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I don't think that's as ironic as you think, because with Guard in the Garden being a cozy fantasy, like that's such an interesting, strange way to write about PTSD and this warrior's transition to civilian life. And I think that we need more of that stuff. I think that's probably why we're seeing success with them, because it is from a different perspective and it helps people understand that transition better.
Yeah, I don't think the people fully understand or can appreciate just how hard that transition is for a lot of veterans. I mean, I started Army and then I finished Air Force, and so you may remember this, Zach, when we would fly in, either guys from Afghanistan or Iraq, we all kind of come into Al Salim Air Base in Kuwait. And then from there, you're shotgun back usually to Baltimore and then back to your individual bases. And so when I came back from Iraq in October, end of October of 2007, for the first time, my base had just gotten, crap bombed out of it for several hours that evening. A few hours later, I'm on a plane to Kuwait. I'm in Kuwait for maybe 30 hours, and then I'm back to the States. So within 96 hours of getting, my base rocketed and bombed, I'm walking around the Brandon Mall in Tampa, Florida with my wife.
Right.
Everyone's drinking Starbucks like the world, like nothing's going on.
Nothing going on, yeah.
That is hard to process and adjust for people, because I just spent a year in this, in that whole stressful mess there. And now I'm back here walking around and everyone is as nothing's going on. They're completely oblivious to what's happening outside of their world. And so that's a hard transition to handle and to deal with, because the military does not do a good job of that.
Now, when the Navy instituted a new program right after the first Iraq war, because so many of the guys on the boats were just, we'll just say screwed up and be nice about it. So now, before you can go home, it's 6 months through I forgot what they call it. They demonetize, D something to you. What the hell? I can't remember the name, but basically, they basically take your training and reverse it to who you were before you came in. Well, you all know that that's impossible, but hey, we'll give them something for trying. But they also said that they had them seeing shrinks on a daily, not daily, but a weekly basis. And even for the first 6 months home, they wanted them seeing, because just what you said is absolutely right. I remember when I got off the carrier and I met my wife, and we went to go have lunch at a really fancy restaurant. I hadn't even seen land in 18 months. I was like, just standing on solid ground was just weird. And I was like, what? And the whole time I'm thinking, couldn't even concentrate on what I was doing. My brain was still where I was.
Yeah.
Was not here, was still there.
Yeah.
And it took a while for my brain to rebound. But I tell people it's not easy. And in boot camp now, they got the cosmonauts. They send them to cosmonauts school. So, boot camp's intense for the first couple of weeks. Your brain's being brainwashed and the Navy keeps making them longer. Last I heard, it was like 14 or 18 weeks. I'm like, Jesus, people, cut it out. Yeah, I should have joined the Air Force. I had two friends join the Air Force. They had it made.
I should have stayed Army, to be honest with you. I was honestly on a really good trajectory moving up, and then when I finished college, I decided, I want to make this a full-time career and go the officer track, and so I changed branches, and I should have just stayed.
Army is the fastest promoting branch of the military.
It is.
Air Force and Navy want you to be officers one day, but they're not all really, And Marines
if you're
are
an
like,
officer in the Air Force, unless you're a pilot, you're really not really considered part of the force per se. You're just
you have to be a command officer or a pilot, one of the two. Other than that, you're not. You can be a captain. If you're like the captain over there in charge of whatever cuisine or medicine, they don't take you serious. It's just the way they are. But the Navy's the same way. They look, if you're not a command in the command structure, you're not nobody. They don't care what your rank is. And I watch lieutenant pilots come in and they'll treat those captains on board their ship that has nothing to do with the command structure. They'll treat them like crap, and knowing they're not going to get in any trouble. Knowing they're not, but now if you're an enlisted man and try to get away with it, that's a whole different story there. But once because I got in trouble once. So I punched an officer before I became an officer. I punched one. Hey, he asked for it. We were in some club. He was being I started by being a smart ass with the Marines because the Marines kept talking about how big and bad they were. I said, look, dude, what does that check say right there? It says U.S. Navy on it. Does it?
Mm-hmm.
So you belong to us. You work for us. You're our slave boys. Just shut the fuck up and sit down. Whoop, beep, beep, beep. Anyway, that's what I said. Next thing I knew, there was feet and fists and stuff flying everywhere. Well, this officer came in, big and bad. He's gonna whip everybody's butts, and he's screaming, throwing people around. He grabbed me by the shoulder before I realized that I decked him, knocked him out cold. I mean, knocked him out cold. I thought I didn't even get written up for it either because the commander said he should have never done that. He should have waited to the SPs to get there, the MPs to get there, and let them break up the fight because it was like.
Well, it wasn't a fist fight, but the best skirmish I saw was when we were in Baghdad, and when our unit deployed because we were interrogators. Okay, so there's just a small amount of us in the Air Force. So there's 48 of us deployed as a group. To Iraq. We linked up with a Mormon intelligence National Guard unit out of Utah, ironically, and so that formed our task force. And we merged up with some other Navy guys, but we had the Army Chief Warrant Officer come over. So he's a CW5, like he's the head for the entire program for the Army. And then we had an Air Force captain who was an OSI officer, and she was running her OSI training and way of doing intelligence, which is wildly different than how you do actual human intelligence and interrogations in a war. And she was putting out information, talking, and it was contrary to what he's doing. And he just kind of had to interrupt. He's just like, ma'am, stop. This is not how it's going to work. This is what we're going to do. We're going to do it the way I wrote the manual and the way the manual says it's going to be done. This is how it's going to work. And it was interesting to watch that little tussle because, a lot of my Air Force colleagues, they don't come from that Army background, so they didn't quite understand the gravity of a CW5 directing that and saying that because they're kind of God in the military. It was humorous. Let's put it that way.
It's always funny to watch because the branches all have their own little quirks. Because I was watching this captain in the Air Force one time when he was giving this guy a Navy. He said, well, we're the same rank. You're a captain. He said, oh, no. So the captain in Navy is like a colonel in every other branch. He said, dude, we command ships in cities. He said, not the same. He said, you're going to get yourself in a lot of trouble. He said, we're a whole 2 ranks ahead of you. And it's true. The Navy skipped 2 ranks. They did that with Admiral too when they did the Commodore thing. They just, we don't need these ranks. I guess they didn't want to have I don't know why they did it. I asked a couple of times too, and they always told me, well, that's just the way we do things here. I'm like, okay, you're the boss. But it was kind of funny because we got into it with a tussle with some Army guys, and the Marines were all pissed. And the 2 colonels are out there screaming, and his captain comes up, but he was a carrier captain, which is a fleet captain. Everybody, it didn't matter who they were, all was dead. The dude's a colonel. He's got like things all the hash marks all over. Like, yes, sir. It was funny, man. It was because you can kind of tell who you see. And I've watched many captains and lieutenants when a master chief comes up or a master petty officer comes up, they change their tunes because those guys really know what the hell's going on. Once you've been in service 35 years, you better watch talking to anybody bad because they know some people, man. They're the guys who run everything. They're not, my first lieutenant was an idiot. I was so glad when I got promoted. He was an idiot. He liked the guy that's blown up 3 or 4 times. And we'd tell him stuff. Oh, no, you can't run the elevator like that. No, we have a special elevator for weapons. What are you doing? He's hauling up weapons next to the jet. Yeah, let one go off and wipe out 10 or 12 jets and see what happens. You'd see us. We'd all walk to the other end of the boat. We'd just start walking away because we knew it was coming, and we seen it happen a couple of times. Because the ones for the weapons are made different. Plus, they're caged, so if something does go crazy, it won't go shooting down the runway. The one on others was for a jet. There's nothing around it. It's a big, huge, massive elevator. Oh, it was funny. It was funny. It was dangerous, but it was funny. And that's another thing, you know, I think I missed when I got out, and I was glad there was people that were talking about it. I think, and I hate to say this, I think I got addicted to the danger for a while.
Yeah.
I mean, I really hate to say it, but I think it happened. Because when I came home, I was like, there's something missing. Yeah, there was something missing. Nothing was blowing up. People weren't screaming at you. Right. You weren't working 14 hours a day.
But you weren't working those 14 hours a day alone though too, and that's another thing that you walk away missing too, is that camaraderie, right? You lose that, and it's just like, hey guys, wait, where are you guys going? Oh, we got another mission to go on, and you're like, oh yeah. All right, well, I guess
I'm going to go feed the baby now, you know.
I guess I'll see you guys later, right?
It's weird, you know, though. Through Writers of the Future, I have met, I want to say 6, maybe 7 interrogators that worked in the 2 Iraq wars over there. All authors that have come to Writers of the Future or associated through somebody else. One of them I met through Bill Forte, but still, it's interesting to see how many we actually had deployed over there. What the hell were we looking for? It seems like we were looking for more than just information on the war. I mean, we were stomping them out of existence. I was confused. I was like, that's a lot of and some of these level 1, or they used to call them the O team. Oh no, the Z team. Yeah, these sound like something you'd see in a horror movie somewhere, man. I was like, what are we? What? I'm still to this day don't know what we were looking for. I mean, I know
where was it at?
Well, so for the Desert Storm War, they had a bunch of, but for the last Iraq war, I've met a lot of them that were over there doing interrogations, and I was always asking what were they looking for. He said, I don't know what they were looking for. They said they just wanted information. I said, about what? I mean, the war was over.
It wasn't that before the fall of the Soviet Union, so you still had, you know, for Gulf War I, you still technically had the Soviet Union there. So that was the first time we were actually fighting actual Soviet equipment. You know, and so I think there was a lot of technical information they were probably trying to go after and obtain and get stuff like that. But, you know, that's a tough job because you can only talk to so many people at a time.
Yeah.
And then you have to write reports on what you discuss, and you've got to do your research for other things like that. So one person can legitimately only interrogate so many people at a time. And God help you if you've got thousands of them.
Yeah.
It's a lot of long hours.
I mean, there's a lot of them I talked to really. They were hardcore stressed after that job. You know, a friend of mine was talking about, he said, well, Joe, they weren't getting shot at and stuff. Well, I said, some of them did both. Some did interrogation, some were in the field too. I said, I said, dude, interrogation is not an easy job. No. I said, I think I'd rather be shot at. And he's like, why? I said, because I said, it takes, I said, 1, you got to have a certain attitude. 2, you got to know what the hell you're doing. Because, you know, a lot of these guys are trained not to be interrogated.
Yeah.
And you know, that, I mean, I always tell that story about when they sent me to prisoner of war school. They sent me twice. Because the first time I ended up with broken ribs, the second time I escaped though. Got accommodation. I got accommodation for original thinking on that one. It was we spent the night in it was like a half track or something. And then that morning when they were on doing parade, we went through the fence and went down to the bar. We're down at the bar. It took them 2 days to find us. We were at the bar for 2 days. 2 days to find us.
Yeah.
I mean, you're supposed to escape if you can. We just timed it right. That's all. I was pissed because I got my ribs broke the first time. That's all that was. Jesse, prisoners, when you do certain things in the military, they send you to a prisoner of war school to help you to not be interrogated, not to give up information when you're being interrogated. Yeah. The guy said, "We put some bamboos on your fingernails." I said, "You want to die right here, dude?" That's how I'm gonna snap your neck right here. It's no, they do torture you pretty bad. They do stuff like play music, well, not music, but just someone talking, basically hating all night long. all I did was put my hands over my head and went to sleep. Yeah, I was used to living in New Orleans, so it wasn't a big deal. I just went to sleep. They get violent, physically violent several times. It wasn't against the rules to break a bone or to draw blood. None of that was against the rules. No, they were allowed to be pretty harsh. It was as realistic as it could be without actually being real. Yes, they used
like crying baby, crying baby noises. Little,
oh god, yeah, just horrible
symbol
stuff,
sounds like that just grate on you.
What, Jesse? No, it's a tough thing to go through. It's not all the branches have them, and they're basically all the same. But for some reason, if there's one joint one that they send everybody to for some reason, but the individual branches have them too for whatever reason they use them for. Well, no, the CIA and the CIA and the FBI, all of them have them. Because certain people are going to be allotted certain information, going to be carrying certain information, and they want to know to the best of their ability that you're not going to give that information up.
I think at the end of the day, everyone's going to break. It's just a matter of how long and how much you're going to divulge. But just because you've broken doesn't necessarily mean you have to give away the actual goods. You can send them down rabbit holes.
Yeah, you can lie your ass off. That's the first thing we were taught. Says, Joe, just lie. Just tell them whatever. He said, you're good at talking. Just tell them whatever.
Yeah.
So when they come back to beat the crap, he said, yeah, but still, meanwhile.
Yeah.
Well, so Gene, when they put you in these things, they always give you the little glimmer of hope that you could escape or someone might come get you. But in reality, if you're in certain places, like you're in Soviet Russia, nobody's coming for you. So you're sooner or later, they're going to have you locked down long. And sooner, whether it's through drugs or through physical, whatever it is, sooner or later, they're going to get the information out of you. It may take them a year, it may take them 5, but they're going to get it. It's just the same here. It's just once they got you in a certain place, it's like Guantanamo. Just being at Guantanamo, a lot of guys broke after just being there 9 months. They weren't even torturing them yet. They just had them locked down, and some people can't take that. Put somebody in the cell by a 5x5 cell and just leave them there and serve them food every once in a while. Yeah, a lot of people just can't deal with that kind of stuff. It's spooky. So you write about any of that, or can you write about any of that? I know some people can, some people.
That's what I was going to ask. Yeah.
Yeah. So when I was going through training, I kept a journal of everything basically. And when I was over in Iraq, I had to keep a journal just to have something to decompress, just to keep my own sanity. Because you got to understand, when you're there, when I go into the camp, so I'm going. I live on Camp Stryker. We go into Camp Cropper. They're right next to each other, right there at the Baghdad International Airport. There's like 6 or 7 bases that all surround it. And so when you go in there, you're going into a camp with 5,500 prisoners. And there's another one in the south, Camp Buka, that eventually swelled to about 30,000 down south. And so you have 5,500 of these guys there. Before the surge, we were bringing in between 200 to 300 new prisoners a week were coming in. Well, once the surge kicked in, that number ballooned up. Then we're talking, it was usually between 650 to 900 new prisoners every single week. Well, there's only about 60 of us interrogators. So that's an enormous amount of people we have to screen and then actually start interrogating and questioning to get information. And every time you get information and you put together reports, you've got your maps, where the targets are at, where the weapon caches are at, who's who in the zoo, and where different people are. You have a lot of units are going to go out and start actioning these hits, because once the surge hit, we had all those additional straight up infantry units to go hit targets. And so as soon as you get the info on a weapon cache, location for where they're keeping people hostage, things like that, they're actioning these things. And every time they go out the wire to go action something, there is a likelihood that they're going to get hit with IEDs or get ambushed or gunfights, things like that. So every time you put together one of these reports, there's a high likelihood of contact that's going to happen. And that contact is going to result in Americans getting injured or killed, and the enemy getting injured or killed, and or new prisoners. Unfortunately, a lot of civilians get caught in the crossfire and everything else in between there. So when you accumulate that over a year, you're talking about huge numbers that you were directly involved in that were a direct result of your actions. And that's what can be really hard and weigh on a person. So in terms of writing about it, I have written quite a bit about it, but what I don't do is I don't connect the dots with certain things. Nothing about tactics and techniques are classified in that the field manual is available. You can buy it on Amazon. It's not like this is a classified thing. What becomes classified is some of the tools that are used and how you capture people or how you observe them and know where they are and locate them. But the techniques of actually interrogating the person, you can read about it in the manual. If anything, what I wanted to write about and show is that the media is wrong. We're not all monsters. And the other thing was to just show how hard that damn job was and how hard it became post the 2005 Detainee Treatment Act that Russ, Senator Feingold, and McCain introduced. They made that thing really, really tough because they just gummed up our ability to actually do simple tactics that the police and FBI can do regularly with U.S. citizens. We no longer could do with enemy prisoners and terrorists, as well as putting someone in isolation, keeping them separated from the general population. When we bring a prisoner in, you want to keep them separated so they can't talk with other people and be able to learn techniques to resist or get their story straight. We want to keep them separated so they don't get their story straight. Well, you have to keep them, you could only keep them separated for 24 hours at the commander level. And then for 48 hours, you're talking up to usually like a colonel. And then when I wanted to keep someone in separation for 30 days, I had to have the task force commander, a 2-star general, sign off on that request. And to keep them in separation for 60 days, I had to go all the way up to having the country commander. So at my time there, it was General Petraeus.
Like bullshit.
You have to sign off. That's insane and ridiculous that the package would have to go all the way up that high just to keep them in isolation for 60 days while we question them.
Wow.
That's what I'm talking about when they say they made it very, very hard for us.
And they did. They wanted to make it almost where you couldn't do it. Matter of fact, I remember one of my friends. Yeah. One of my friends was telling me, he said, well, he said we were trying to do these interrogations, and basically we were just being pushed away every time. And he said one of the guys got him, just slapped the shit out of some guy and got discharged. They let him keep an honorable discharge, but they did discharge him immediately. So he said, what I started doing after that is when I get aggravated, I would put on the thing, recommend to send to Gitmo.
What happened? They sent a lot of times. They send them out down to Camp Bucca. Because that's the worst. That's even worse because they get sent down there. They're going to spend 2, 3. There was
he told me there was. He was telling me there was 5 or 6 places that they could send them. He said he only put Gitmo on it because he wanted the prisoner to see what he was typing. Because he said he didn't actually have any. He couldn't actually say anywhere they were going to go. He could recommend it, but he said they were going to send them wherever they had room or wherever they thought would do them the best. But he was talking about three Army bases, and then he, Frank, I don't know if the Navy actually has. They probably do, but it's probably inland. Yeah, and the Navy has bases that have no water around them. It's a little weird. Yeah, I was stationed. I went to tech school in Tennessee. There wasn't no water. No. There was landlocked. Like you couldn't believe landlocked. But thank God we got airplanes too, man. Because it was bad. No, in San Diego was different. There's water all over San Diego, but no, there's a couple of bases I've been through to the Navy. It's really weird. There was one I went to in Ohio, which was just a big square, 1 million square foot building. I have no idea what was in it. I went because one of their computer systems went down, and they still had, get this, they had punch card and reel to reel in this thing. It was like the AV state. Well, they had it in the New Orleans AV station I went and worked on. I get there. I'm like, what? I look at the guy. I said, what? I said, man. He said, Joe, you know how much money it costs to change this? I said, do you know how much money it costs to fix this? So I said, I'm going to do a trick. So I just routed out a whole system and dropped in back then. I think it was, it was like 2 gigs. So whatever computer, it still had a barefoot drive in it and had a 5-inch floppy on it. But anyway, I dropped it in there, and it took over like 1/3 of the floor. He's like, wow. I'm like, yeah, dude, come on. I was like, this is the military shit. We're supposed to have state of the art. Not this is 1950s stuff, man. It's got to go. But there's a couple of times at the AV station, the whole floors were computer. When you pull ceiling tiles down and floor tiles up, it was all computer. So all that stuff in 2 floors wouldn't run what one of my computers, my 36 core sitting right there with 128 gigs of RAM. That's more power than that whole floor had. Probably more power than the whole freaking building had. It's ridiculous. It is. And it was ridiculous what we had in the military when I was being told in civilian life, oh yeah, you can get a 2 gig chip. My ass. We were running dual cores and stuff. I'm like, yeah, we didn't see dual cores till I was out of the Navy for almost 14 years before it made it to civilian life. It was like, I can't even talk about some of the other stuff because it's probably still classified.
Oh, Zach, I gotta say, man, I really like your background setup. How you have that with your bookshelf there, and
that's a nice setup you got there.
That's pretty.
Slick. When I started the author journey, I realized, you know what would be a worthwhile investment? I'm going to build this glorious bookshelf so it's in every video that I ever make. And sure enough, it stinking worked. And it's been quite the thing. It kind of almost became like my branding color and everything just because everybody saw it all the time, right? Nice. So,
nice. I like it.
Hey guys, I really appreciate you. Thank you for having me on. I'm gonna go. I got those 4 kids, so I'm gonna get. There's only 3 home now, but
4 teenagers. Oh my god.
Yeah, I'm gonna go hang out with those teenagers for the rest of the day. But I really, really appreciate you guys having me on. Nice to meet you, James, as well.
Yep.
See you guys later.
Okay.
Nice talking to you, Zach.
All right. See you, Zach.
These are cool. I think it's gonna got to about damn 50 degrees in the studio. I have to watch this. This is crazy.
Getting cold.
Yeah, we rarely get this kind of cold weather down here, but we do from time to time. This will be our 3rd year in a row where it's really cold weather. I mean, they're saying wind chill of 6. For us, that's like what?
Where are you at again?
I live on the Gulf Coast.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm actually
right now here in Tampa. Right now it's 38 in Tampa, so it's kind
of my oldest stepdaughter lives in Tampa. That's where she's at, and one of my good friends is down there. They're in Tampa, and then for us it's weird because the year before last we got a little snow. Last year we got 18 to 22 inches of snow, which has never happened before, and this year we haven't had any snow here, but the whole half of the state is just iced in a sheet of ice right now. It's so we've been lucky on that part. We might see some flurries tonight, but other than that, it's most people down here, their houses aren't insulated for this kind of weather. And my house got double insulated windows and stuff, and I can still feel a light breeze coming through my house. Well, I'm also raised off the ground 12 feet, so that doesn't help matters. If you go underneath my house right now, I guarantee it's like 5 degrees underneath the house right now. It's crazy, but it's great in the summertime. You can go sit down there, take out the chairs, kick back, enjoy yourself. So if you're right, it's a really good place to write. It's a really pretty property. We're right on the water. In the springtime, we got mimosas that bloom and flop over, so you can sit underneath them and watch the bayou go by. We've got, I think, 16 crepe myrtles on the property. We got a couple of wisterias, some baby, and they're all big now. So they're blooming all over. Well, them mimosas bloom. You're getting high off the smell of them things. I'm like, Lord have mercy. And if you like to fish, I got redfish, I got speckled trout, I got drum, I got sheephead, I got catfish, I got flounder. And when the water gets high, I even occasionally get some galgai and sakalai up in here. So it's James, I don't get to fish that much. Oh, and I have blue crab in my backyard. Yes. Yeah, no going to the market, just throw out a thing, come back in a day or two, and I'll have a dozen or 2 blue crab, and I'm a happy camper.
Yeah, I grew up in the Chicago area, just over the border in Kenosha, Wisconsin. So I really don't have a desire to live above I-40. I prefer below I-10 even, personally.
Well, it's tough. I tell people all the time, if you're from up north and you come into the south, don't move below Interstate 10. Move somewhere maybe 20, 30 miles, maybe 50 miles above it, because 2 reasons. One, not going to see as much weather. And if there is a hurricane, more than likely the effect you're going to get is not going to be, earth changing. The only thing, and as long as you don't go much higher than that, you won't see any winter weather either. But what the crucial part is, you lose about, just being off the coast 50 miles, you lose 20 or 30% of the humidity. So you're not going to feel like when you walk out your house, you need to go back inside and take a shower. I actually start my car before I even go downstairs. So I'll wait, walk down the stairs, get in my car. Because if not, if you try to get in the car, it's like being in a sauna. It's just, even under the house, it's like being in a sauna. It's ridiculous. And we get about 3 months of that. It seems to be getting a little better though. Our summers have been getting a little bit cooler, and so much for global warming. But really, truly, the whole South has been getting cooler. It's kind of weird.
Yeah,
James, that's why we always say climate change and not global warming, because it just changed. It's just not quite what we were. Well, I don't know.
It's like it happens on trajectories of the planets.
No, Al Gore was on crack. He said by 2006 there wouldn't be no ice left on the planet.
Yeah, I remember. I'm supposed to be underwater right now here.
Yeah, so am I.
I remember being told that in the early 90s. Oh, it's all going to be melted.
I don't know where he got his data from. The man was he just seen an opportunity to make a lot of money.
That's what it's funny. It's just
he made a lot of money, and that's and I actually know the Antarctic is actually growing ice. It's not losing ice. Yeah, I know that's another strange thing. So, they said we wouldn't have no ice in summers in the northern in Antarctica for a long time. We're seeming to get more. I don't know. So that's why I call it global change, because climate change, the planet moves. We know the planet's been through a lot of stuff in its 4 billion years of life and the 1 billion years that it's had life on it. We also know more than once there's been no ice on the planet. Mm-hmm. And get this, people, we knew at one time the carbon was 22 times the rate it is on Earth today. And you know what it did? It made for really big animals and really big plants. So I don't know what to tell y'all. Sometimes we're just being lied to. That's why you have to understand there's something going on, and then you have to figure out what's going on without making somebody rich doing it.
Yeah, I think we just engineer our way out of whatever problems we encounter. Humans are pretty adaptable to just about anything, and we engineer our way out. You think about it, like if there's cold or hot, what do? We eventually came up with swamp coolers, and then we came up with AC. Yeah, whatever. You're going to find a way to engineer yourself.
It amazes me. My poor Canadian friends. It amazes me how many of them don't have air conditioners. They got heaters, but they don't have air conditioners. I said, why do you have an air conditioner? Well, don't get hot in the summertime. I'm like, really? And they're like, well, it does now, doesn't it? I started getting you one.
I know, James. I like your idea about the engineering your way out of it, and that's only if it hasn't been engineered out already and the technology is suppressed too. I believe a lot of the things, like internal combustion engines, there's got to be a way to make those run with zero.
Oh, well, no. So there is zero emission. There are zero emission combustion engines. Japan was the first one to invent them. And the United States has a version that has a carbon thing on. So it runs for like a year, and then it's got a tray on the side. You slide the tray out, and it makes these little round little pieces of carbon, like you use like they look like little charcoals. And you use it, so it's already compressed and everything. So then they can decide how they want to dispose of it or how they can use this, because it's a usable product for other things, but it takes at least zero emission, which means we don't have to go to crappy electric cars. Jake, I'm not anti-electric. No, you took that the wrong way. I don't want a car that only drives 300 miles and then there's no way to charge it back up. And I don't want to have to wait 4 hours to charge it up either. I want to, when I gas my car, it takes 10 minutes and I'm gone, another 500 miles. And you ever drive across Texas and through New Mexico and Arizona, there's not much in the way of charging stations.
Yeah.
You got it.
But the internet, though, when you think about it, with the internet, you have the way to communicate and share ideas globally, and then you've got the recent advance and stuff with AI. So now you can share problem solving and solutions worldwide. You're just going to see an awful lot of real neat advancements and moving forward that the oligarchies can't really suppress like they could have 20 years ago. So I think we're going to see a lot of really cool, neat tech come online in the next few years, hopefully.
Well, Tesla says they got an app that will manage your trip and make sure that you have you can reach your charging stations. But they did say there are a couple of places that there are gaps. So I watched what one guy did. He got a little trailer behind him. He had a little generator on the trailer pulling it behind his car.
Nice.
I was like, that was slick, man. You got That was slick. But you know, when we talked about electric cards a decade ago, a partner of mine used to talk about it. I don't understand why each wheel can't produce power. It's spinning. Put a generator in there. It's going to produce. You got to put a generator in a voltage regulator.
They generate when they break, though. They use regenerative braking.
Yeah. So why don't they use it full time? Why aren't they using it when the wheels? Because I mean, they're turning, so they're creating power. Somebody said, "Oh, well, it puts resistance against it." Well, it does a little bit, but so don't put it on all four wheels. Just put it on one wheel. That way, it's not really putting any resistance that changes the trajectory of the car, the way it moves. I don't know. And there's other ways to do it. You don't even have to put it on a wheel. You can put it on drive shafts that are going to spin no matter regardless. It just seems like we should already have regenerating electric. John, you look good, babe. What were you at? Would you have Chip and Dale again, man?
We just finished doing the cover reveal for volume 42.
Okay, you don't look happy enough for that.
What?
Were they giving you trouble? So I said, you don't look happy enough for that. Usually when you do the reveal, you got a big smile on your face and stuff.
Yeah, I know. I come in here and I was saying, okay, we're talking about the Authors Quill, and I hear about regenerative charging of cars, and I'm going like, what happened to the Authors
Well, you know,
Quill?
Joe got on Joe followed a rabbit trail.
We got
He definitely goes down those rabbit holes.
We got off on a progressive.
Wait a minute, Joe went down a rabbit hole?
So.
You got a shotgun for rabbit holes, man. I use this for the rabbit holes now. Let's be honest.
Okay, good. Well, that's good. There, we're getting back now towards science fiction.
That's right.
No, we just did the cover reveal for volume 42, which is amazing. We had Ciarello, who's coming out this year from Spain. He is the cover artist, and Orson Scott Card was there as well in the event, and then Nina Kriki Hoffman, Jody Lanai, Brian Hales.
Wow.
And then it's also
all the judges for the contest.
And then a lot of the winners. And then we had also Stefan Rudnicki is recording the audiobook. He's a 2-time Grammy Award winner. And he's also won Hugos and all kinds of awards for his audiobooks. So we're very excited to have him on as the producer of volume 42 of the audiobook. So you'll be able to meet him, Joe, when you come out. And James, just as a standard invitation, you are always invited to come out for Rise to the Future. You almost made it 2 years ago, and then something happened and you didn't, but the invitation still stands.
I'm going to get out there one of these.
Till death do us part. It stands.
Well, leave James down there in Tampa. He can go to that TampaCon down there.
I do. I do. I've seen John at the TampaCon a couple of times.
I'm trying to go this year. I wanted to go last year, but for some reason last year, everywhere I wanted to go somewhere, something else came up. Somebody's like, "Oh no, you got to go do this. You got to take care of that." And this year, I may have messed myself up going to LA. So I decided. We always talk about this real fast, and John will pick on me later about it. But I decided I was going to go on a diet, right? So I've lost like 25 pounds. I realized by the time I get to John, I'm going to lose about another 16 pounds. I'm going to be in between clothes size. I'm going to show up in some shorts and a t-shirt. Oh, man, I may have messed myself up here. Anyway, enough about all of that.
Tuxedo pants with rubber band holding that both sides together.
Because I can't go shopping, that's for sure, until I balance out. Anyway, it's I was going to start earlier in the year, and then I got sidetracked with some other stuff, but enough about all of that.
So James, I saw you got a new book just came out because I just saw it on because you're an author I follow. So
where is that? Do you know, I'm glad you said that.
So what was that one?
So we finished the sci-fi one. That the 12th book came out in October, and then we just finished the 4th and final book in the spin-off series within that same world. That one came out a couple of days ago. And then we launched our newest military techno thriller. So book 1 came out in, I think it was end of July, first part of August. The Gotland Deception and the Suwalki Crisis came out right before Christmas. And so that one's kind of moving the storyline forward. So I really wanted to look at where are things going technology-wise with autonomous weapon systems and AI, because we really touched on that with the last series. But now we're seeing wild advancements of things going forward with the military tech, because there's one of the huge problems our current military has is being able to build manned warships. And the Chinese are absolutely crushing the global, shipbuilding in that regards. So we can't fix that problem overnight. But what we can do is we can move forward with unmanned surface vessels, whether it's surface or underwater vessels. And so like Saronic Technologies and Anduril Industries are kind of leading the way in that realm. And so we really dove into looking at that and how that could play out in a war in like the early 2030s, and trying to see how do you also augment that with warships. And so our kind of concept was you have the Arleigh Burke essentially is like a quarterback, and it's surrounded by different classes and sizes of unmanned surface vessels that handle air defense or naval strike. And you have them equipped with so some of them will have directed energy weapons, but then you're also using high-powered microwaves for going after counter-drone technology. These are all tech that's being tested and used in Ukraine, so it's not possible to assume that it will advance quite a bit further in the next 7 years from now. And so we just kind of adapted that to those naval platforms. But even with armor, okay, so people talk about the tank. Is it dead because we see all the action happen in Ukraine? It's not that it's dead. It may be dead in that war because they don't have the capabilities around it to keep it alive. But that's not to say that the U.S. doesn't, or in the future, even like China will. So how do you weave those things in there? And that's where, again, robotic tanks come into play, because these other platforms can carry some of those microwave systems on it, or other counter drone equipment with it, and that can augment your tank. So then you have a manned tank, but now it's got 3 or 4 little wingmen on the side, so to speak, just like air. And you have that on the surface vessels. You would also have it on land weapons as well. And so we're kind of really moving into this futuristic warfare like that. How it's going to be a lot of AI and autonomous platforms. It's kind of interesting to write about and scary to think about where it's all headed.
Yeah, your stuff is some of the scariest stuff. I read a lot, and horror has got nothing on what you write in terms of like, it's just very scary, like, because it's all based on real technology. The only thing that's science fiction are the characters, and that's even just fiction. Some of this, I mean, I think we're still science fiction on the battery packs, but that's rapidly changing. But otherwise, you got that. But are you into the 7-digit figures yet as an author?
We keep going just shy. It's really, people don't understand, it is incredibly hard to survive in this publishing business as a self-published independent writer, because you think about, I have to wear many, many hats. So, I mean, I'm writing the content, I'm doing the research, I'm also having to do a lot of the marketing. And so looking at the different, what ads are working, what ads aren't, understanding how to read that data and figure that piece out, all that testing. And then you still have to research your stuff, interview other people for, does this system actually work? Is this really how it would operate? And then actually write the story and maybe interact with a few fans in between there. So it's a lot to try to do. It is really difficult and challenging to survive in there. But I enjoy it. I like that independence, because I don't have a publisher telling me that I can't write either. So there is that too. But it's challenging. I'll put it that way. We're still saying it. We're still independent, but I won't lie and say it isn't hard.
That's one of the things. I was going to say that's one of the things I was hoping to get into with you and Zac, because Zac's also an independent publisher too, and he made a decision at the beginning, to like, do I just write, or do I get a publisher and an agent, or do I do this myself? And he ended up doing it himself too, which is, I think, somewhat similar to what you're talking about too.
Yeah. I mean,
because later on this year, I want to get you back on as a guest on the podcast, talking about your journey and where it is now. Like, it's been 2 years since we were last interviewed. So where we are right now, I'll need time. I've got 8 podcast interviews coming up in the next few weeks, because I'm going to 2 writing conferences, Superstars and Life Universe and everything. But then when I get back, I'd like to interview you again. I need to get caught up on, we'll work out what book I need to read so we can talk about that. But I also want to talk about your journey financially, because that's what a lot of people are interested. Like, so what is it as an indie author? What can I expect? What do I have to do? Just helping them to get in some of the brass tacks of making it as an indie author.
Yeah. I mean, Cash flow, ironically, is a very difficult thing to master and manage, believe it or not, because as you know, when you sell something on Amazon, so we're in the month of January, whatever I sell in January is not going to get paid to me from Amazon until March 29th. So it's the 29th of every month, 60 days after the month closes. So you know what you're going to make, but you have to still pay for the ads that you ran in that month and any of your expenses and things that you've incurred. And then you have to carry that forward into the next month before you're going to get paid that third month.
Yeah.
And so you have to make sure you have your cash flow is staying open, so that way you can continue to cover those different costs, because you're going to have months where you're going to be on fire and you're going to have a wild, huge month, because you have a new release and pre-orders and things like that, or a book caught fire and is doing really well. And then you're going to have months where you're going to see like a 50% drop in revenue.
Like January versus December.
Yeah, and you got to be able to make it through those troughs, those highs and lows like that. And those highs and lows, sometimes they may stretch across 3 or 4 months. And so you got to make sure you've got enough capital to keep yourself afloat and keep going, especially if you're finishing a series and you're starting a new one, because you don't make most of your money in a series is going to come when you're usually in book 3, 4, and 5. It's not in the first couple. Because you're building up the audience for that series, and so the pre-orders get larger as you get further in, and you start recouping more of your costs up front. You have, if you're spending $5 to acquire a reader, and you've got 3 books deep in the series, well, you can afford that. But if you only have 1 book deep, you're at a loss for most of that time, and so you've got to be able to have money to do that, and you still need to invest in marketing your backlist too. Because the way you're going to survive this long term is to have 3, 4, 5 series that are all still earning something going forward.
That's that whole mentality, the 20 books to 50K, that whole conference that happens.
Huge, different mentality.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
anyway, I know a lot of writers in that group. I mean, I know the guys who run the group. I'm friends with Craig Martell and them.
Yeah.
In a mastermind group and stuff with them. And so
yeah.
I've been doing this 10 years now, 8 years full time. So I know a lot of the people who are, people who've stuck around this long, to be honest with you, is full time wise. It's kind of a small group. At the same time, there's always new entrances in, but you'll have people who come in and they're like a rocket ship, and then they will just disappear. That does happen. Yeah.
Anyway, so did you guys discuss it all, Rise of the Future, while I was in my absence, or is it just been talking about Tesla and?
No, we talked a lot about Riders of the Future. We talked about all kind of good stuff. We also talked about when we're sending you to the moon. When we're taking you to the Mars with us. We talked about that too. We crossed all kind of barriers today, and then poor Carmen got probed. So we had to talk about that for 5 minutes, and how it works. But it was a pretty good conversation, all in all. I know we got to get out of here because I got another.
My computer crashed.
I'm gonna have to get all of these interrogators together for one show, and I wonder if I'll be breaking any rules if I do that.
No,
check into that, man. They might come for us all one afternoon. Hey, what are y'all talking about? We're talking about how you idiots. That's how we're talking. No, Jesse. No. James is an author, but he was an interrogator for the military, Army, then Air Force. So that's what we were talking about. But we were talking about his writing. It just that always comes into play because it's a serious job. Well, because some of this is therapy. It's a good way to get out some of the stuff that's in your head. It's good. And if you listen to Zac, he would say the same thing. When you're in the service and you serve in certain places or you're doing certain jobs, it's good to have therapy. It's just good.
Hello.
What was my therapy? What do you mean? What was my therapy? My therapy was alcohol when I first got out of the military. Yeah, that was my therapy. And then I got married, and then you know what? And then I got married, had a kid, and then my kid was my therapy. Yes, I'm being totally honest and frank about it. I can't be any more honest than that about it. No, I was pissed. But I just lost my dad. I lost my dad at 16 too, so I was already pissed. And then the service wasn't. So I was pissed going into the service. I was pissed coming out. It's just one of them things, people. It's life. That's why you need people like James and Zac and people that are writing stuff that can help you. You can get through. Yeah. All right, Dick Tracy over here.
Yeah.
If we give him a hat, he look just like Dick Tracy.
Okay, so we're about ready to log off. It's at 25% download.
Yeah, you gotta find some kind of therapy, something to an outlet, right? You need an outlet, and writing.
Yeah,
whether you're doing it to publish books or you're doing it for your own self, it's a great way to express what's going on in your head. And if you can somehow take that and transform it into stories, compelling stories that people find interesting and want to buy and are willing to pay money for, then all the better, because now you found yourself a new career, a new job you can do that can still give you some meaning and purpose in life. Because if you can't find that meaning and purpose to get up every morning and keep going, you know, you're gonna eat a bullet. You know, that's what happens to a lot of guys.
It happens to a lot of them too. You're not kidding about that. In a couple of months, we're setting up a new it's a new pay-per-view system for so like people like authors and people who got something to sell will be able to get on there and sell it. It'll be part of the Roku TV system is what it'll be part of. It might even be on Fire Stick, but it'll definitely be on Roku. So we're just, you know, as we get it up, I'll contact people, tell them what it's involved, and there's no cost to y'all. So if you make money, you make money. We make money, you make money. We tell you what the percentages are up front, so everybody knows everything's up front. And but y'all, it doesn't cost y'all anything. It costs us a little bit in the front, but it doesn't even cost us that much. And then it gives us ways to, because we do investigations, we have people in field and stuff like that. We want them up for pay-per-view. And we know a lot of authors and illustrators. I mean, a lot, not just the ones I know from John. I know a lot before I met John. There's just a lot of y'all out there. And I'd like to see all of y'all get rich.
It's an expensive business. People don't fully appreciate just how costly this industry is to actually get involved in and do it, because, you know, you have a great story, but at the end of the day, you still need to have a good editor. And an editor they're worth their weight in gold. You know, they're going to help you look at it, and they're going to find the plot holes. They're going to find the mistakes and the things that you won't see because you're too invested in the story. Now, I've worked with my editor now for 8 years. She's edited 40 of our books. You know, costs around 2 cents to 2.7 cents a word for the first draft, and then it goes down a little on the second draft. But worth her weight in gold, because she's helped me spot errors and problems in the story, because we'll be in book 5 or book 7 even, and she'll say, hey, you had this section had a different character, a different name back in book 2. Did you mean to have a name change, or is this a new character, or did you just get this mixed up? She's that good at being able to spot those things.
I'd be saying, look, chick, mind your own business.
So it's worth it. You need that kind of stuff. But that's expensive. You know, like with our books, we put in, it's probably between $4,000 and $5,000 between editing the cover per book. So if I'm doing 4 books a year, that's close to $20,000 in sunk costs right off the bat.
Oh yeah.
And many times you're charging $5.99 to $9.99 for a book. And, you know, Amazon takes their 30%. So you're left with that 70%. So factor that amount by 5,000 per book. And that's how many you have to sell just to break even, let alone actually pay yourself a salary or pay any kind of money to advertise or anything else that goes involved in that.
Yeah, well, when you're doing sci-fi and fantasy books, remember, I'll get you in touch with Michelle. I mean, the network houses, I've lost count. I mean, we have 37 shows right now in the network. Probably 2/3 of them are fantasy or sci-fi related type shows, or into some kind of paranormal, spiritual kind of stuff. But it's all shows where books like these can be sold because people have an interest in it. Yeah, I mean, this show is designed for it, but these are all shows that, you know, they're all doing different things. I mean, we have a lot of shows, but a lot of them are politics, and, you know, we got what's called the John Goodman show, which is all pictures of John. Yeah, that's what we got. But anyway,
it's the intellectually deep one that goes into
that's the one
in life.
Like what? You got to sit back when you're watching that one. But James, you were great having on. We got to get out of here because I got to go eat, and I got another show coming up in 15 minutes actually. Okay. And Saturday is my really
James,
busy day.
Again, you're invited to Rise to the Future, April 16th. So
I'll look at that. I got an opportunity to possibly go to China here soon, and so I'm trying to weigh between, do I go? Is it safe to go?
You know, it's funny you said that, because I was offered to go do a lecture tour over there for 2 years, and my embassy.
2 years.
My embassy told me not. Yeah, it was $250,000 a year to go. all expenses paid. But my embassy said no. They said, I can't tell you not to go, but they said we would recommend that you do not go. They said it's not safe for Americans. I said, well, when would it be? And they said, they go, well, we'll contact you when it is. And you know what? That was 2 years ago. I still ain't heard nothing. So I would check to be safe. But, you know, I got a lot of friends in China, and most of them tell me they would be glad to see Americans over there. So I guess maybe there's just places like in the United States where if you're a foreigner, you shouldn't go. I'm sure it's like that in China, too. I'm sure there's places, oh, no, you dumb American, you shouldn't go there. But there's a lot of places I wanted to see. I really wanted to go. I don't think I could have went anyway because my station manager couldn't have done everything by herself. And from there would have made it hard to run things. But I was like, yeah.
Well, mid-April, John, I'll have to look at that. See if there's a way to just fly out and then fly back or something.
But I'll follow up. I'll send you an invitation. You can let me know if you can figure out or not. And I'd love to meet your wife, Miranda, one of these years.
Hey, well, if you come out to Tampa again next time, we'll try to make that work.
Okay, good. Yeah, because I know you got your kids to take care of too. So anyway,
it's nothing like having 5 or 10 kids. It's always a good thing.
Yeah.
But anyway, ladies, we got to get out of here. I want to thank everyone for tuning in to United Public Radio on the Authors Quill. I hope you enjoyed the show. Like I say every week, any moans, groans, bitches, or complaints, you can feel free to write to Michelle DeRoche. She loves to hear from y'all. She'll send you a candy bar, something, you know. She's up in Canada right now, so you know. It's how it is. She's a Canuck, yeah. She don't like you Americans, so you better be careful when you write to her. I'm just kidding. But if you do have a complaint, that's who you write to, Michelle DeRoche. But on that note, we got to get out of here. Coming up next is the chat. The boys will be on there chatting about all kind of weird, strange things today. I would mention them here, but I don't think it's age appropriate for this show. So on that note, good night and stay tuned for the chat.